Some have wondered why I am fixated on this Haitian story, the story of the assassination of the Haitian president, which took place two days ago in the wee hours of the morning in Port-au-Prince, where a group of mercenaries broke in to what must have been a heavily fortified estate and shot and killed the president, President Moises, I believe it, Jovenel Moises, I think is how you say his name, but I'm not confident enough to say it, so I'm just going to stick with calling him the president. They broke into his house. How did they do that? How do they bypass the security and manage to murder the head of state of the country of Haiti? That question is still up for grabs. But what we do know are a few other things now. And these other things, these other components are interesting things to figure out, interesting things to try to put the pieces together with. So it would seem that the Haitian authorities have killed some and arrested others who were involved in this assassination. And that this was the word is coming out now that most of this group this was a band of mercenaries, seemingly, most of whom were Colombian in their nationality. So what I heard in one report is that 26 of them are Colombians, and there are two who were Haitian American, and one of the Haitian Americans supposedly involved, who we supposedly see him, one of the prisoners, handcuffed, sitting on the floor at a Haitian jail. He was somebody who ran a charity of some kind, and claimed to want to help Haiti. Help the underprivileged, underserved children of Haiti. And so one wonders then, was this entire charity, was this entire entrepreneurial venture of his a front of some kind? Also, why are Colombians getting involved? Members of the ex-military members of the Colombian army. What brought them on this mission to murder the head of state of Haiti? Also, there's a couple other things, just to throw this all in the mix. These are things to think about. And what I'm trying to do here is just stick to the facts. I go on a lot of places. I go to places on YouTube, and I go to stories about this event. And often what I hear and see is a lot of pontificating. If not pontificating, then there's a lot of discussions of the general state of things in Haiti right now over the course of the last few years, and the lack of popularity that this president had, the disputes that the president had with other bodies of government concerning when he took office, and thus when he was supposed to give up office. There were many who claimed he should have given up office already. Well, he claimed he was entitled to a few more months, I think maybe to serve out the year in office. But and all of those and some of those details are interesting, but I just want to know more about the event itself. That's what's really guiding me here. That's what my interest is, and I will tell you why. Because my hunch, my impression, is that much of the evil of the Western world and their dirty little secrets, much of them seem to stem from that 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 impoverished, embattled island nation of Haiti. And there's a lot of fingers in those pies in Haiti. There's a lot of there have been a lot of reported goings on, extremely unsavory variety. There's the stories from a few years ago about another supposedly religious charitable organization, which after the earthquake happened in 2010, supposedly had a bunch of orphans that they wanted to take out of Haiti and eventually take them over to the United States. It turned out that they weren't orphans at all. They were kids who had parents who were alive. And so this supposed church group, which was apparently seemingly a front of some kind representing Western interests, they were all thrown in prison. Eventually, they were talked out of their having to serve their prison sentences by none other than Bill Clinton. That's right, the Clinton initiative in Haiti is extensive. He's not the only one, though. Again, there are a ton of Western represented charities, NGOs, what have you, who claim to be in Haiti because they want to do work for good. They claim to want to help these people, but one sees that they're up to perhaps only a great deal of mischief and quite sinister mischief at that. The woman who headed up this group, named Laura Silsby, that's a blast from the past for those who may have forgotten. She was she was sprung from Haitian jail on charges of child trafficking because she was trying to take children away from their parents and move them God knows where for God knows what reason. Pretty sketchy. Guess what? She wound up being some top-level person working for the Amber Alert system. And this used to be something you could look up online and see her name and her face there, but they quickly took that down a few years ago. So, child trafficking, organ harvesting, there are all kinds of allegations of things, evil goings on in Haiti that aren't just the result of a corrupt tin pot dictator or of an island that's poverty-stricken in a hellhole and full of crime and gangs and all kinds of undesirable things. Yes, Haiti is all of that, but it's also an island with a lot of resources, mineral resources, which are seemingly being exploited, as well as other resources, human resources that it would appear certain Western interests also want to exploit. So all of this fuels my interest in what went on with President Moises, again, if I'm saying that right. Just a couple of intriguing things that I've mentioned so far. A Colombian army headed up by two Americans of Haitian origin. This is why this group of men, this gang of mercenaries or commandos, were heard to converse exclusively in English and Spanish, as opposed to any of the native languages of Haiti, which are French and Haitian Creole. So there's that little aspect, that oddity that makes one wonder, makes one rub one's chin thoughtfully. And again, we look at the president. I've been trying to dig up stuff about him, and I'm hearing all kinds of things. But two things stand out to me that I think are maybe worth repeating here. The first is, while while the president was generally regarded as a kind of stooge of the United States, he was propped up by the various administrations, by the Trump administration and then by the Biden administration. He also is someone who, it would seem, didn't want the vaccine in his country. Wanted to keep the vaccine out of his country. And I've heard enough to confirm this from a few different sources, but I can't quote chapter and verse on this. It just seems like it is hearsay, but it's as far as I can tell, it's hearsay that seems to be confirmed by people in the know. So there's that strike against him from the Westerners' point of view, from the Western elites' point of view, that he doesn't want the vaccine in his country. Another thing that's interesting is it seems that a few years ago, the country of the Dominican Republic, which shares the other half of the island that Haiti is on, the country of the Dominican Republic switched their allegiance to communist China, to mainland China. And after that, this current president became very friendly with Taiwan. And in fact, after his murder, many of the men with guns who were presumed to have taken part in the assassination, they were arrested trying to break into the Taiwanese embassy, which is notable, isn't it? Isn't that something that should give one pause? Now, were they trying to break in there to get diplomatic immunity, to get away from what the law that was that predominated in the country, in the non-diplomatic areas of the country? Were they trying to escape justice by trying to get into the Taiwanese embassy, or were they trying to break in and wreak havoc there? Were they trying to maybe commit more murders there? It's not clear, but it does raise that question: why, out of all the embassies, why would they pick the Taiwanese embassy to try to break into? So we've got the specter of possible Chinese involvement, and in one form or fashion or another, in that the president was genuflecting towards Taiwan, and perhaps certain Western, China-allied Western interests would not care for that, and certainly most powerful Western interests would not care for the fact that the president didn't want to have the vaccine in his country. And these in turn point to possible motivations for why this group of men, this group of mercenaries, commandos, ex-military types, why they were hired. They maybe didn't have any ideology themselves. They're just hired hands. They're just brought on to do a job. And maybe that job got botched because a lot of them ended up getting arrested. Apparently, maybe they were supposed to be able to get away. But a good question is, of course, how did they get in the country in the first place? Who saw to it that they were able to obtain entrance into Haiti? This group of 28 armed men. How do they break into the country, much less break into the president's house and open fire on him and his wife, killing the president and injuring his wife? All of these are useful questions, and I'm glad they're being asked. I'm glad there's some degree of an investigative spirit right now. I just get the feeling that if these arrows start to point in certain directions, as to what the origin of this entire assassination plot was, as far as who hired these guys to do this job. If the arrows seem to be starting to point in certain directions, then this story is going to vanish, man. It's going to be gone. You're not going to hear about it anywhere. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens, but that's what I think is likely to happen soon, if things go in the way that I suspect they might. We'll see. Thanks for watching. My name's Andy Nowicki. Please check out my work at altrightnovelist.com.